The dark void of space suddenly filled with light as 300 warships appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system. They came from every corner of the galaxy, representing 40 different alien species who all followed one rule: obey the Galactic Council or be destroyed. Their ships were massive, some the size of small moons, covered in weapons that could turn planets into dust. They had come to give Earth one simple choice. Captain Hyun-woo floated in the observation deck of the sanctuary station, sipping coffee from a magnetic cup. He was a tall man with tired eyes who had been stationed in orbit for 5 years. He watched the alien fleet on the monitors with the same expression he used when checking weather reports. His second officer, Lieutenant Ji-won, drifted over to him with a tablet in her hands. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission on all frequencies. They want us to broadcast it to everyone on Earth," she said. Hyun-woo took the tablet and pressed play. The screen showed a creature that looked like a mix between a lizard and a mantis, standing upright in elaborate robes. Its voice came through the translator as cold and mechanical. "Humans of Earth, I am Ambassador Thelrix of the Valorian Collective, speaking on behalf of the Galactic Council. Your species has been observed for the required period. You have developed faster than expected and without proper guidance. This is unacceptable. You have 72 hours to surrender all military forces, accept council governance, and submit to proper civilization. If you refuse, your planet will be pacified by force. This is not a negotiation. This is your only warning." The transmission ended. Hyun-woo stared at the blank screen for several seconds. Then he did something that would confuse the entire alien fleet. He started laughing. Not a nervous laugh or a crazy laugh, but a genuine belly-deep laugh that made him spill his coffee. "Sir?" Ji-won looked worried. "Are you okay?" "They really said that?" Hyun-woo wheezed, wiping tears from his eyes. "They actually flew here with their big ships and threatened us, like we're children who don't know any better." Ji-won allowed herself a small smile. "Should we send the message to Earth?" "Oh yes, definitely send it. Everyone needs to see this." Hyun-woo was still chuckling as he pulled up the communication panel. Within an hour, the alien ultimatum had been broadcast on every news channel, every social media platform, every communication device on Earth. The reaction was not what the Galactic Council expected. People didn't panic. They didn't riot in the streets or beg their leaders to surrender. Instead, they did what humans do best when faced with absurdity. They made jokes. In Seoul, a college student named Bora posted a meme showing the alien ambassador with the caption, "New phone who dis?" It got 10 million shares in the first hour. In Mumbai, someone created a video game where players tried to surrender properly to increasingly ridiculous alien demands. In São Paulo, a street artist painted a massive mural showing Earth giving the alien fleet a thumbs down. The entire planet seemed to treat the threat as a cosmic prank. On the Galactic Council's flagship, Fleet Admiral Cortex watched the human response with growing confusion. He was a Valorian like the ambassador, a species that had conquered 17 star systems through reputation alone. Most planets surrendered the moment they saw the fleet. The few that resisted were quickly crushed. But humans were doing neither. They were laughing. "How can they not understand?" Cortex demanded, his tail lashing in agitation. "We have 300 warships. We could glass their entire planet from orbit. Why are they not afraid?" His tactical officer, a 4-armed creature named Peltix, studied the data flowing from Earth. "Admiral, their media is treating this as entertainment. They're making what they call memes. I don't understand the cultural significance, but they seem to find our threat humorous." "Humor?" Cortex's voice rose. "We offer them extinction and they respond with humor?" Ambassador Thelrix entered the command deck, his robe swishing. "Perhaps they don't understand the gravity of their situation. They are a young species. They may not comprehend what the Council represents. Then we should educate them," Cortex said darkly. "Prepare a weapons demonstration. Destroy one of their outer stations, something visible but not too costly. They need to see what we can do." Back on Sanctuary Station, Hyun-woo received a priority message from Earth Command. He read it quickly and smiled. The message was simple: proceed as planned. Show them nothing. He forwarded it to every military installation in the solar system. On the moon, Commander Tae-yang received it in his underground facility and nodded. On Mars base, Colonel Sung-ho read it and grinned. In the asteroid belt, Lieutenant Minji powered down her weapon systems to standby mode. Everyone knew what it meant. The waiting game had begun. The next day, the Council sent a probe past Earth's moon. It was a sleek, deadly thing that moved faster than anything humans were supposed to have. As it passed an asteroid, it fired a single beam that turned the rock into vapor. The message was clear. This is what will happen to your cities. The probe never made it back. One moment it was there, the next it simply vanished. No explosion, no debris, just gone. On the moon, Taeyang marked it in his log as salvaged material and went back to his coffee. Korthek stared at the empty space where his probe had been. What just happened? Unknown, Admiral, Peltix reported. The probe's signal simply stopped. No distress call, no sign of weapons fire. It's as if it ceased to exist. The Admiral's confidence wavered for the first time. Could it have been a malfunction? Possible, but unlikely. That probe was military grade. As the 72-hour deadline approached, the mood on the Council fleet shifted from confidence to unease. The humans weren't acting right. They should be panicking, negotiating, begging. Instead, Earth's orbital traffic continued normally. Ships came and went like nothing was happening. Civilian satellites maintained their positions. It was as if 300 warships weren't parked at their doorstep. On the final day, Hyunwoo received a visitor. Bora, the college student who had made the first viral meme, arrived on Sanctuary Station wearing a simple flight suit. She had been chosen as Earth's diplomatic representative, partly because of her viral fame, partly because she had a degree in xenolinguistics. "Captain," she said, saluting casually. "I'm supposed to go talk to them. Buy some time. You sure about this?" Hyunwoo asked. "They might not be friendly," Bora shrugged. "They threatened to destroy my planet. I'm not feeling particularly friendly either. Besides, someone needs to deliver the gift package." Hyunwoo handed her a small data chip. Earth's entire internet. Every video, every article, every meme ever made. If they want to understand humanity, they should see all of it. "This might actually scare them more than our weapons," Bora said with a grin. As her small shuttle departed toward the alien fleet, Hyunwoo returned to the observation deck. Jiwon joined him, looking nervous for the first time since the crisis began. "Sir, what if they attack before the deadline? What if they don't wait?" Hyunwoo's smile faded. His voice became serious. "Then they'll learn why we were laughing. They think we're afraid. They think we're weak. They came here expecting sheep." He paused, watching Bora's shuttle shrink into the distance. "They're about to find out we're wolves." Fleet Admiral Korthex paced the command deck of his flagship, his clawed feet clicking against the metal floor. He had conquered worlds before. He had seen species beg for mercy, had watched civilizations crumble at the sight of his fleet, but humans were different. They didn't react like prey should react. They laughed. They made jokes. They sent a single young female in an unarmed shuttle to negotiate, while their planet went about its business like nothing was wrong. "Admiral, the human diplomat has arrived," Peltix announced. "Bring her to the conference chamber. Perhaps one human will show proper fear." Bora stepped into the alien conference room and immediately felt the weight of 40 different species staring at her. Some had too many eyes. Others had none. They were creatures made of rock, beings that floated in containment fields and things that hurt to look at directly. She smiled and held up a small bag. "Hi, everyone. I brought coffee and chocolate. Who wants to try?" The room fell silent. Ambassador Thelrix leaned forward. "You understand why you are here, human? Sure, you want us to surrender. We're not going to, but I figured we should talk anyway. Maybe grab some snacks." Bora placed the bag on the table and pulled out the data chip. "Also, this is humanity's entire internet. Everything we've ever posted, created, or shared. If you really want to understand us, start there." A small alien with too many fingers took the chip and inserted it into a console. Within seconds, data began flooding across the screens. Videos of cats, cooking tutorials, arguing about politics, videos of people doing dangerous stunts, music from every culture, arguments about which fictional characters could win fights. Millions of hours of content created just because humans could. The alien pulled back from the console like it had been shocked. This is chaos. How do you function as a species?" "Practice," Bora said cheerfully. "Look, I know you think we should be scared. You probably think we don't understand how powerful you are. But here's the thing. We've been listening to your communications for 30 years. We know exactly what the Galactic Council does. You find developing species and force them to join. You've done it to everyone here except maybe 3 of you. So we knew you'd come eventually. Thelrix's mandibles clicked in surprise. You've been spying on us? It's not really spying when you broadcast everything openly. You should encrypt your stuff better. Bora accepted a cup of coffee that materialized from a food processor. Thanks. Anyway, we knew you were coming, so we prepared. That's what humans do. We prepare. Cortex entered the chamber, his presence making several smaller species shrink back. Prepared? Child, you have no weapons that can harm our fleet. Your technology is centuries behind ours. What could you possibly prepare? Bora sipped her coffee and smiled. Want to find out? Because we've still got 60 hours left on your deadline. A lot can happen in 60 hours. Deep beneath the Swiss Alps, Dr. Dayun stared at equations that most humans couldn't understand. She had been working on the Singularity Project for 8 years, ever since Earth's first deep space telescopes detected the Galactic Council's ships conquering a peaceful species in a nearby system. The project had one goal: create a weapon so devastating that no one would dare attack Earth. Da-Un, we're ready for final testing, her assistant said. No, Da-Yun replied, still focused on her calculations. We only get one shot at surprising them. We test it when they attack, not before. But what if the math is wrong? Da-Un finally looked up, her eyes tired but determined. Then we die. But the math isn't wrong. I've checked it 10,000 times. When we fire these weapons, they'll know humanity isn't prey. Around Earth, thousands of satellites quietly adjusted their positions. To anyone watching, they looked like normal communication satellites, weather monitors, or research equipment. The Council's scans confirmed they were civilian technology, nothing dangerous, but appearances were deceiving. On the moon, Commander Tae Yang walked through corridors that officially didn't exist. The lunar mining colonies were real enough, but underneath them was something else entirely. Massive factories that had been built over 20 years, weapons platforms that could track a ship moving at 0.9 light speed, railgun batteries hidden in craters on the dark side. The moon wasn't just Earth's natural satellite anymore. It was a fortress. Status report, Tae Yang ordered. All systems green, Commander. Fusion reactors at full capacity. We can sustain combat operations for 6 months without resupply. Tae Yang nodded. Good. Keep everything powered down until they make the first move. Let them think we're helpless. On Mars base, Colonel Sung-Ho reviewed tactical data with his team. Mars had been humanity's first successful colony, home to 50,000 people who lived in domed cities. But between those domes, hidden under the red dust, were drone factories. Millions of autonomous hunter-killers waiting for activation codes. Each one was small, fast, and carried enough explosive power to punch through military-grade armor. Colonel, the Council sent another probe, one of his officers reported. It's scanning our defense perimeter. Let it scan. It won't see anything until we want it to. Sung-Ho pulled up a star chart showing the entire solar system. They think they have us surrounded. They don't realize they're in our territory. In the asteroid belt, Lieutenant Minji commanded a small fleet of mining ships. Officially, they were harvesting minerals and ice. Unofficially, each ship was a warship disguised as civilian equipment. The mining lasers could cut through ship hulls. The cargo holds contained missiles instead of ore. Even the ice haulers were dangerous, their containers filled with frozen water that could be launched at high velocity to create devastating impacts. Minji, we're picking up increased council chatter, her communications officer said. I think they're getting nervous. Good. Nervous enemies make mistakes. Minji watched the distant alien fleet on her screens. How long until the deadline? 54 hours. Perfect. That gives them plenty of time to worry. Back on the Council flagship, Cortex was indeed worrying. The human diplomat had returned to Earth after a frustrating conversation that answered nothing. His probe had been destroyed by unknown means, and now his intelligence officers were reporting strange anomalies throughout the solar system. Admiral, we're detecting unusual power signatures from the human moon, Peltix reported. What kind of power? Fusion reactions. Multiple sources. But their databases claim the moon is just mining colonies. Cortex's tail lashed. They're hiding something. What about their planet? Civilian traffic continues normally. No military buildup that we can detect, but Admiral, Peltix hesitated. I've been analyzing the data the human gave us. Their internet. It's disturbing. Disturbing how? They have thousands of fictional stories about wars with aliens. They've been imagining this scenario for over a century. They have detailed theories about weapons, tactics, and strategies for fighting species more advanced than themselves. Admiral, I think they've been preparing for us specifically. Ambassador Thelrix joined them on the command deck. That's impossible. They couldn't have known we would come. They knew someone would come, Korthek said slowly. They detected us conquering other species. They saw what the Council does. So they prepared. He turned to his weapons officer. How long until we're ready for the assault? 36 hours, Admiral. But are you sure we should proceed? These humans are unpredictable. That's exactly why we must proceed, Korthex declared. The Council cannot show weakness. If we retreat from one young species, others will think they can resist too. We attack as planned. On Sanctuary Station, Hyunwoo received the message he'd been expecting. The Council was preparing for assault. They had taken the bait, committed to attacking instead of negotiating. He smiled and opened a channel to Earth Command. This is Sanctuary Station. The fish is hooked. Repeat, the fish is hooked. Confirmed, Sanctuary, came the reply. All stations are authorized to move to combat readiness. Do not reveal capabilities until they fire first. Yunwoo closed the channel and looked at Jiwon. Get some rest, Lieutenant. In 36 hours, everything changes. Sir, can I ask you something? Go ahead. Why did we let them get this close? Why didn't we just show them our weapons from the start and scare them off? Hyunwoo walked to the observation window and stared at Earth below. Blue and beautiful and fragile looking. Because they needed to commit, Jiwon. If we showed our strength too early, they might have called for reinforcements. They might have brought the entire Council fleet, but now they think they can win with just 300 ships. They're confident. Confident enemies make fatal mistakes. And if we're wrong, if they're stronger than we think? Hyunwoo's reflection in the window showed no fear, only determination. Then we die fighting, but at least we'll die free. Besides, we're not wrong. They've been bullying weaker species for centuries. They've forgotten what it means to fight someone who fights back. The deadline continued to count down. 36 hours, 30, 24. Earth's cities remained calm. People went to work, children went to school, life continued. But in orbit on the Moon, on Mars, and the asteroid belt, humanity's hidden military prepared for war. Weapons that had been secret for decades powered up. Soldiers who had trained in secret took their positions. Ships disguised as civilian craft shed their covers. And Captain Hyunwoo, watching the alien fleet through his observation window, whispered to himself, "Come on then, let's see who laughs last." The attack began exactly when the deadline expired. 300 warships of the Galactic Council opened fire on Earth's orbital defenses simultaneously. The void of space lit up with energy weapons, plasma cannons, and missile barrages. From the Council flagship, Fleet Admiral Korthex watched with satisfaction as his weapons struck their targets. Direct hits on all orbital platforms, Peltix reported. Their shields are holding but weakening. They should collapse within 10 minutes. Korthex nodded. Good. Once the platforms fall, target their communications satellites. I want Earth blind and helpless. For those first 10 minutes, it seemed the Council's confidence was justified. Earth's orbital defenses fired back, but their weapons appeared primitive, barely scratching the Council ship's shields. Several human stations took severe damage. Debris scattered through space. It looked like the war would be over before it truly began. Then everything changed. On Sanctuary Station, Captain Hyunwoo watched the countdown on his display reach 0. He pressed a single button and spoke calmly into his communicator. All stations, this is Sanctuary Actual. You are weapons free. Show them what we really are. Around Earth, thousands of satellites that had appeared civilian suddenly transformed. Panels folded back, revealing weapon systems that made the Council's sensors scream warnings. These weren't communication satellites. They were railgun platforms, each one capable of accelerating tungsten rods to incredible speeds. The first volley struck the Council fleet like the hammer of an angry god. 3 ships simply ceased to exist, their shields useless against projectiles moving at a fraction of light speed. The tungsten rods punched through armor, through hulls, through anything in their path. They kept going until they exited the other side, taking half the ship with them. What was that? Korthex demanded, his voice rising in pitch. Unknown weapons fire from the human satellites. Admiral, those weren't civilian platforms. They're military grade. Our sensors were fooled. Peltix's forearms worked frantically across multiple consoles. Admiral, we've lost 3 ships in the first volley. Their weapons are devastatingly effective. Impossible! They don't have that technology. Another volley fired. 5 more Council ships took critical damage. One broke in half, atmosphere and crew venting into space. Another tried to retreat but took a railgun round through its engine core and exploded in a ball of blue fire. But the railguns were just the beginning. The cargo ships that had been moving peacefully through Earth's orbit suddenly deployed their real cargo. Swarms of autonomous drones, each no bigger than a car, erupted from the holds. Thousands of them, maybe tens of thousands, spreading out in coordinated patterns that confused the Council's targeting systems. "Drones incoming," someone shouted on the Council flagship. The drones moved like a school of fish, weaving through space in perfect formation. When they reached the Council ships, they didn't explode. They landed on the hulls and began cutting. Their mining lasers, designed to slice through asteroids, cut through military armor like paper. Some targeted weapon systems, others went for engines. A few found weak points and burrowed inside. On Mars base, Colonel Sung Ho watched his tactical display with grim satisfaction. "Deploy the hunter killers. Let's keep them busy." From hidden silos across Mars, missiles launched. But these weren't normal missiles. Each one carried a hunter-killer drone programmed with advanced AI and one mission: destroy enemy ships. They accelerated hard, pulling maneuvers that would have killed any living pilot. The Council's point defense systems tried to shoot them down, but for every one destroyed, 2 more got through. "Admiral, we're being overwhelmed," Peltix reported. His voice had lost its professional calm. "These drones are everywhere. They're targeting our weapons, our engines, our life support. We can't fight them all." Cortex stared at his tactical display in disbelief. In 15 minutes, the perfect assault had become a nightmare. His fleet was being torn apart by weapons that shouldn't exist, by technology that Earth wasn't supposed to have. "Target their planet," he ordered desperately. "Orbital bombardment, now!" Every remaining Council ship capable of firing turned their weapons toward Earth. Massive energy beams lanced down toward the blue planet, enough firepower to crack continents and boil oceans. For a moment, it seemed like Cortex's desperate gamble would work. Then Earth's real defenses activated. Major Sung Ho sat in a command center deep beneath the city of Busan, his hands resting on controls that could direct Earth's entire defensive network. He had trained for this moment for 15 years. When the orbital bombardment began, he didn't panic. He simply pressed the activation key. Around Earth, generators that had been hidden in every major city, every industrial center, every populated area, suddenly powered up. Fusion reactors built in secret over decades poured incredible amounts of energy into shield generators. The entire planet lit up with a blue glow as overlapping defensive shields sprang into existence. The Council's bombardment hit the shields and simply stopped. The energy dissipated harmlessly. It was like trying to break a steel wall with a hammer. The ships fired again and again, pouring everything they had into breaking through. The shields flickered but held. "Impossible," Cortex whispered. "They shielded an entire planet. How?" From the moon came an even bigger surprise. Craters that had looked natural suddenly opened up, revealing what they really were. Camouflage for massive electromagnetic cannons. Commander Taeyang gave the order, and the moon itself joined the battle. The cannons fired with a sound that no one in space could hear but everyone could feel. Electromagnetic pulses accelerated shells the size of buildings toward the Council fleet. These weren't precision weapons. They were siege weapons, designed to crack open heavily armored targets. When they hit, Council ships didn't just take damage. They crumpled like paper in a fist. "The moon," Peltix said in horror. "They turned their moon into a weapon platform." Taeyang watched through his monitors as his cannons tore into the enemy fleet. Each shot took 30 seconds to charge, but each shot was worth the wait. He targeted the biggest ships first, the ones that thought their size made them safe. A massive carrier that housed 3,000 Council troops took a direct hit and broke in 3 pieces. A dreadnought that was the pride of the Valorian fleet tried to dodge but was too slow. The shell caught it amidships and the ship folded in on itself. In the asteroid belt, Lieutenant Minji unleashed her own surprise. Her mining ships dropped their disguises and revealed sleek warships bristling with weapons. But more importantly, they revealed something else. Ice haulers filled with frozen water, each container weighing hundreds of tons, launched toward the Council fleet at high velocity. "They're throwing ice at us?" Someone on the Council flagship asked in confusion. "It's not about what it is," Minji muttered from her command chair. "It's about how fast it's going." The ice containers hit Council ships at thousands of meters per second. At those speeds, it didn't matter that it was just water. Kinetic energy turned ice into devastating projectiles. Shields designed to stop energy weapons did nothing against physical impacts. Hulls crumpled. Ships spun out of control. One unfortunate cruiser took a direct hit on its bridge and the entire front of the ship simply disappeared. But Dr. Dayun's project was the most terrifying of all. Deep in her underground laboratory, she activated the weapons she had spent 8 years perfecting. Singularity torpedoes, missiles that created tiny black holes on impact. "Launch them," she ordered, her voice steady despite knowing what she was unleashing. 6 torpedoes fired from hidden Earth platforms. They were small, stealthy, almost invisible on sensors. The Council fleet didn't even see them coming. When they struck, reality itself seemed to break. The first torpedo hit a Council battleship. For a split second, nothing happened. Then a point of absolute darkness appeared at the impact site. Space warped around it. The ship's hull began stretching toward the black hole, metal and ceramic pulling like taffy. The crew never had time to scream. Within seconds, the entire ship was gone, crushed into a point of infinite density before the singularity evaporated. 5 more torpedoes found targets. 5 more ships ceased to exist in the most horrifying way possible. The Council fleet, which had started the battle with 300 ships, now had fewer than 200. And they were still dying. "Retreat," Cortex finally shouted. "All ships retreat to minimum safe distance." The surviving Council ships burned their engines hard, desperate to get away from Earth's killing field. They had come expecting an easy victory over a primitive species. Instead, they had found a meat grinder that chewed up warships and spat out debris. As the enemy fleet pulled back, Captain Hyunwoo opened a channel that broadcast to every ship in the system. His voice was calm, almost friendly. "Galactic Council, this is Captain Hyunwoo of the United Earth Defense Force. You came to our home expecting sheep. You found wolves. We gave you 72 hours to reconsider. You chose violence. Now you know what humanity is capable of. You have one chance to leave our system alive. Take it, or stay and find out what other surprises we prepared." On the Council flagship, Cortex stared at the tactical display. 1/3 of his fleet was gone, destroyed in less than an hour by a species that was supposed to be primitive. His tail drooped in defeat. "What are your orders, Admiral?" Peltix asked quietly. Cortex looked at his crew, at the species who had followed the Council for so long without question. Then he looked at Earth, that blue planet that refused to die. "Get me a direct line to that human captain," he said finally. "It's time we learned to negotiate properly." Fleet Admiral Cortex refused to accept defeat. He sat in his command chamber surrounded by the leaders of the 40 species that made up the Council fleet. They had retreated to a safe distance from Earth, licking their wounds and counting their dead. 100 ships lost in a single engagement. It was the worst defeat in Council history. "We cannot retreat," Cortex declared, his voice firm despite the fear in his eyes. "The Council has never surrendered. If we run from these humans, every species in the galaxy will think they can resist us. Our entire system of control will collapse." "But Admiral," said a small crystalline being who commanded the science vessels, "their weapons are beyond anything we expected. Those singularity weapons alone could destroy our entire fleet." "Which is why we must adapt," Cortex insisted. "We still have 200 ships. We still have superior numbers. We will coordinate a surface assault. Their orbital defenses are strong, but if we can land troops on their planet, we can force a surrender. No species will destroy their own homeworld." Around Earth, humanity's defenders prepared for the next phase. They had won the first battle, but everyone knew the war wasn't over. Captain Hyunwoo called a conference with all the military leaders scattered across the solar system. "They're going to attack again," he said, his face appearing on screens in command centers from the moon to the asteroid belt. "And next time they'll be smarter. We need to change tactics." Major Sung-ho spoke up from his bunker in Busan. "Our shields can hold against bombardment, but if they try to land troops, we'll have a ground war. Are we ready for that?" "We're ready," confirmed Lieutenant Haewon, commander of Earth's Special Forces. She was a compact woman with scars on her hands and a reputation for being the toughest soldier in the military. "Let them come down. They'll learn that humans are even more dangerous up close." But it was Strategic Officer Minji who proposed the unexpected. "What if we don't let them come to us? What if we take the fight to them?" Everyone on the conference call went quiet. Attack the Council fleet with what? Earth's defenses were formidable, but they were defenses. Offensive operations were different. "Explain," Hyunwoo said. Minji brought up tactical displays. We have ships hidden throughout the system. Small, fast, designed for hit and run. We've been treating this like we're defending a castle, but the best defense might be a good offense. We hit them before they can organize another assault. Commander Tae Yang from the moon nodded slowly. It's risky, but she's right. Every hour we give them is an hour they use to prepare. If we strike now while they're still reeling, we might break their will to fight. Do it, Hunwoo decided. Minji, you have operational command. Hit them hard and fast. From hidden bases on Mars and in the asteroid belt, 30 human warships launched. They were smaller than council vessels, but they were built by a species that had spent centuries perfecting the art of war against itself. They carried the latest weapons, the fastest engines, and crews who had trained for this exact scenario. Pilot Jae-hyun led the first squadron of fighters. He was young, only 26, but he had logged more combat simulation hours than any pilot in history. As his ship accelerated toward the council fleet, he felt no fear. Only focus, all wings, this is Alpha Leader, he said calmly. Remember your training. They're bigger, but we're faster. They're stronger, but we're smarter. Hit and run. Don't give them time to target you. And for Earth's sake, have some fun with this. The council fleet detected the incoming human ships and scrambled to respond. But they were used to fighting other council species, whose military doctrine focused on slow, methodical battles with lots of posturing. Humans fought differently. Jae-hyun's fighter dove into the enemy formation at speeds that made the council pilots dizzy. He pulled maneuvers that should have been impossible, his ship dancing through space like a leaf in a storm. His weapons locked onto a council cruiser's engine port and fired. The ship didn't explode, but its engines died, leaving it drifting helplessly. One down, who's next? Jae-hyun laughed. Around him, the other human pilots performed similar miracles. They flew like madmen, pulling turns that generated 456 G-forces. Council pilots, whose species evolved on low-gravity worlds, blacked out trying to match them. Humans had evolved on a heavy planet. They had been fighting gravity their whole lives. A few Gs in combat was just training. They're everywhere, a council pilot screamed. I can't get a lock. Stay in formation, his commander ordered. But formation flying meant predictable movements. And predictable movements meant death. The human ships darted in and out, firing precisely targeted shots that disabled rather than destroyed. They went for engines, weapon systems, communication arrays. They wanted the council ships alive but helpless. And it was working. But the real shock came when human Marines boarded a council ship. Sergeant Haewon led a team of 20 through a breach in a disabled cruiser's hull. They moved through the corridors in practiced formation, weapons ready. The first council troops they encountered were Valorians, the same species as Admiral Cortex. They were large, powerful, with natural armor and sharp claws. They had served as the council's enforcers for centuries. They were terrifying. Haewon and her team tore through them in seconds. The Valorians were used to their size and strength, giving them an advantage. But humans had evolved as apex predators. They hunted in packs. They coordinated without speaking. And they had spent 10,000 years perfecting ways to kill things bigger and stronger than themselves. When a Valorian soldier tried to charge Haewon, she sidestepped, grabbed its arm, and used its own momentum to throw it into a wall. Before it could recover, 2 other Marines had it subdued. The whole encounter took 5 seconds. Secure this deck, Haewon ordered. Medical team, treat the wounded. Theirs and ours. We're not here to massacre. We're here to win. On the council flagship, Cortex watched in horror as his ships fell one by one. Not destroyed, but captured. Disabled. The humans were taking his fleet apart like a mechanic disassembling a broken engine. How are they doing this? He demanded. They're outnumbered. They're smaller. They shouldn't be able to move like that. Peltix had been studying the human tactics. Admiral, I think I understand. They evolved on a heavy world. Their bodies can handle acceleration that would kill most council species. They're using that advantage. And their tactics? They're not following any military doctrine we recognize. They improvise constantly. They take risks that seem suicidal but somehow work. Admiral, I don't think they're just good at war. I think they enjoy it. It was true. Jae-hyun was laughing as he dodged missile fire. Haewon was grinning as she led her team through hostile corridors. The human soldiers weren't terrified or desperate. They were having the time of their lives. After 6 hours of running battle, the council fleet was in shambles. More ships disabled. Crews surrendering rather than facing the terrifying human boarding parties. Morale collapsed as even the bravest council warriors realized they were outmatched. The final blow came when human forces surrounded the council flagship itself. 30 small human ships against the massive command vessel. It should have been an easy victory for Cortex. Instead, his weapons officers reported that they couldn't get target locks. The human ships moved too fast, too unpredictably. "Admiral, they're hailing us," Peltic said quietly. On the main screen, Captain Hyunwoo appeared, but standing next to him was a younger officer with sharp eyes and a confident smile. "Commander Yoon Seo, Earth's chief negotiator." "Admiral Cortex," Yoon Seo said calmly. "Your fleet is broken. Your ships are disabled or captured. Your troops are surrendering. You have 3 choices. First, you can die here with honor and we'll destroy your flagship. Second, you can surrender unconditionally and we'll treat you as prisoners of war. Or third, you can join us. Join you?" Cortex couldn't believe what he was hearing. "You're offering me a place with Earth?" "Not with Earth," Yoon Seo corrected. "With the new Galactic Council. One where species aren't forced to join. Where strength is used to protect, not dominate. Where someone like you, a brilliant military commander, could help reform the Council into something better." Cortex looked at his crew, at Peltix, who nodded slightly, at the other officers who had followed him loyally, but now saw only death if they continued fighting. At the screen showing his scattered, broken fleet. "And if I refuse?" Yoon Seo's smile didn't waver. "Then we'll disable your flagship, capture you anyway, and reform the Council without your help. But we'd prefer to have you as an ally. You're not evil, Admiral. You're just following a broken system. Help us build a better one." For a long moment, Cortex said nothing. His entire life had been spent serving the Council, fighting for the Council, believing in the Council's right to rule. But he had also been a soldier long enough to recognize when he was beaten. "How do I know you won't just imprison us anyway?" he asked. Hyunwoo spoke for the first time. "Because we're not you. We don't conquer. We don't enslave. We defend and we build. If you join us, you'll have a real voice in what comes next. If you fight us, you'll just be another cautionary tale." Cortex's tail drooped in defeat, then slowly straightened in decision. "Very well, I accept your offer. But know this, humans. If you betray this trust, there are other Council fleets. Bigger ones. Let them come," Hyunwoo said with a slight smile. "We'll be ready. We're always ready." 2 weeks after the first shots were fired, representatives from 40 different species gathered on Sanctuary Station above Earth. The war was over, not through total victory by either side, but through something the Galactic Council had never experienced before: negotiation as equals. Ambassador So-hyun walked through the station's main conference hall, greeting each alien species with genuine warmth. She was a career diplomat who had spent 30 years preparing for first contact. She never imagined it would happen like this, with humanity winning a war before most people even knew it was happening. "Welcome, everyone," she said as the last delegates arrived. "Thank you for coming. I know many of you are confused about why you're here. Some of you came as prisoners, others came as witnesses. But all of you are here as guests. We have much to discuss." Fleet Admiral Cortex sat near the front, his posture uncertain. He had spent the last 2 weeks in what humans called protective custody, which was surprisingly comfortable. He had been given quarters, food, access to communication with his crew. The humans hadn't tortured him or even interrogated him harshly. They just asked questions and actually listened to his answers. "I still don't understand why you let us live," he said to Captain Hyunwoo, who stood nearby. "You could have destroyed us all," Hyunwoo shrugged. "Why would we? You were following orders, doing what you thought was right. Killing you wouldn't change the... So we decided that if you came for us, we would have to be mighty, not to conquer, but to survive." "But your weapons," said a small, furry creature representing one of the older Council species. "Those singularity weapons, the planetary shields. Technology like that should have taken you centuries to develop." Dr. Daeun stepped forward, her eyes tired but proud. "It would have if we followed normal scientific progress, but we didn't have time for normal. We took risks. We experimented with dangerous theories. We put every resource we could spare into developing weapons that would make anyone think twice about attacking us. 50,000 scientists working in secret for 3 decades. That's what desperation and determination can accomplish," Commander Tae Yang added. "And we built it all in secret. The moon bases, the hidden factories on Mars, the weapon platforms disguised as satellites. We knew if you discovered what we were doing before we were ready, you'd attack immediately. So we hid, we waited, and when you finally came, we were ready. Cortex stood, his voice uncertain. But why reform the Council? Why not just destroy it and rule the galaxy yourselves? You have the power now. The room fell silent.
Every alien species present was thinking the same thing.
Humanity had proven itself more powerful than the Council. By the Council's own rules, that meant humanity should rule, So Hyun smiled sadly. Because we don't want to rule anyone. We've tried that on our own planet. Empire after empire, each one thinking they could control others for their own good. They all fell eventually. We learned that lasting peace doesn't come from control. It comes from cooperation, from choice. So what do you propose? Asked Ambassador Thelrix, who had delivered the original ultimatum that started this war. Hyunwoo stepped forward. A new council. One where every species has an equal vote. Where joining is a choice, not a demand. Where the strong protect the weak instead of dominating them. Where military force is used for defense, not conquest. That's naive, Cortex said bluntly. There are species out there more aggressive than the Council. There are threats you haven't encountered yet. Without unified military control, how would you defend against them? Together, So-hyun answered simply. That's what allies do. They defend each other by choice, not by force. Admiral, you're a military genius. But you've only ever fought to conquer. Imagine fighting to protect, fighting alongside species who want to fight with you, not because they're forced to. Over the next week, the negotiations continued. Human diplomats worked with Council species to draft a new charter. Some species were enthusiastic. Others were skeptical. A few refused to participate and left the solar system, vowing to report back to the greater Council forces. So Hyun let them go. Won't they bring more ships? Lieutenant Ji-won asked Hyunwoo. Probably. But by the time they get here with reinforcements, we'll have allies. Real allies who chose to stand with us. The new Galactic Council Charter was signed on a cool autumn day on Earth. Representatives from 28 species gathered in Geneva, with the others attending by hologram. The document was simple. No forced membership, equal representation, collective defense, and a commitment to protecting developing species rather than conquering them. Cortex signed on behalf of the Valorian Collective, his claw shaking slightly as he marked the document. I hope you're right about this, humans. I hope this idealism of yours isn't just stupidity. Time will tell, So-hyun said with a smile. But even if we're wrong, at least we tried to build something better. As the celebrations began, Dr. Da-yoon gave a lecture at the newly established Galactic University, which had been set up on the moon. Students from a dozen species attended, eager to learn from the humans who had changed everything. Many of you are wondering how we developed such advanced weapons so quickly, she began. The truth is, the weapons weren't our real advantage. Technology can be copied eventually. No, our real advantage was philosophical. A Valorian student raised a claw. What do you mean? Humans have a saying, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. We wanted peace. We truly did. But we knew that wanting peace isn't enough. So while we hoped the Council would be reasonable, we prepared for war. We spent 3 decades and untold resources getting ready for a fight we hoped would never come. Most species would have called that paranoid or wasteful. Was it? Asked another student. Doon smiled. 2 weeks ago, 300 warships threatened to destroy our planet. Today we're teaching their children in our schools. You tell me. The integration continued over the following months. Valorian engineers worked with human scientists to share technology. Council species learned human concepts of democracy and individual rights. Humans learned alien perspectives on philosophy and art. It wasn't always smooth. Cultural misunderstandings were common. But slowly, bridges were built. Engineer Tae Yang found himself working alongside Peltix, who had been Cortex's tactical officer. They were designing a new class of ship for the Reformed Council's defense force. I must admit, Peltix said, using 3 of his 4 arms to manipulate holographic displays. Your military doctrine is fascinating. Aggressive, risky, but effective. Years of practice, Tae Yang said. Humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We got pretty good at it. That's what terrifies some of the Council species. You're a species that's good at war. What if you decide to conquer after all? Tae Yang looked at him seriously. Then you fight back. That's the whole point of the new Council. No one species should have all the power. If humans ever become what the old council was, it'll be your job to stop us. 6 months after the war, the reformed council faced its first real test. Long-range sensors detected an unknown fleet entering council space from outside the galaxy. Massive ships, dozens of them, moving with clear hostile intent toward an outer colony world. The emergency council meeting was chaotic. Some species wanted to evacuate. Others wanted to surrender immediately. But Cortex, who now commanded the combined defense fleet, stood calm and confident. "We have a response plan for this," he said. "Captain Hyunwoo and I developed it together." On Earth, Hyunwoo received the alert and smiled. He opened a channel to every human military installation in the solar system. "All stations, this is Sanctuary Actual. We have a situation. A real threat this time, not just political posturing. The Council needs our help. Do we respond?" asked G1. "Of course we respond. They're our allies now. Besides," Hyunwoo's smile widened, "we made a promise. We protect those who can't protect themselves." The combined fleet that met the extragalactic threat was unlike anything the universe had seen before. Human ships flying alongside Valorian cruisers. Crystal collective research vessels providing tactical data. Species that had been enemies 6 months ago now fought side by side. And when the battle was won, when the threat was driven back, the Council forces didn't chase them down to destroy them. They sent a message instead. "This space is protected. These people are protected. Attack them and you attack all of us." Captain Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of Sanctuary Station, watching the combined fleet return home. Commander Yoon Seo joined him, looking satisfied. "Think it'll last?" she asked. "This new council? Maybe, maybe not. Humans have failed at peace before, but this time we're not alone. This time we have allies who chose to stand with us." He paused, thinking. You know what the real victory was? Not the battle. Not even the treaty. What then? The moment when Cortex signed that charter. When someone who spent their entire life serving an empire of force decided to try something different. That's the real victory. Changing minds. Not just winning fights. Far from Earth on the Council flagship, Fleet Admiral Cortex looked at the new Council banner flying beside the Valorian colors. It showed Earth at the center, surrounded by stars representing all the member species. He had fought for the old Council for 40 years. He had conquered 17 systems. Now he protected all of them. His second officer approached. "Admiral, incoming transmission from Earth. They're asking if you want to attend their cultural festival. Something called Halloween, where they dress up as monsters to celebrate fear." Cortex's tail twitched in what might have been amusement. "Humans celebrate fear? Of course they do. Tell them I accept. I should learn about these strange allies of ours." As the message was sent, Cortex looked out at the stars and thought about the young species that had changed everything. The species that laughed at threats and turned fear into festivals. The species that prepared for war but chose peace. The species that had demanded he become better than he was. "Thank you, humans," he whispered to the stars. "Thank you for not being what we expected." And somewhere on Earth, Captain Hyunwoo was thinking the same thing about the galaxy. Thank you for being willing to change. The new council wasn't perfect. There would be more conflicts, more misunderstandings, more challenges ahead, but for the first time in galactic history, different species faced those challenges together. Not as masters and servants, but as equals who chose to stand side by side. And if new threats came, if new empires tried to conquer, they would find something they didn't expect. Humans who were always ready, and allies who chose to fight beside them. The galaxy would never be the same. And that was exactly what humanity had been hoping for.